And welcome to the Writer's Life, a place where you get the sight, sound, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, and where you get the truth about the writer's life. I forgot to make a thumbnail, but I'm doing like a million things this afternoon. A million things. And I was almost going to skip making a video because it's like the last thing on my list of daily priorities. Ooh, was kind of broke. But I like doing them. They're fun. And I think people enjoy them. I don't know. We're up to like 6,500 subscribers. It's not too bad for a stupid ass writing themed YouTube channel. But I did want to talk about one thing because like I get the Monday Arnold Schwarzenegger newsletter, right? And he writes them himself. I can tell he writes them himself because either that or he's hiring somebody who really knows his voice. And I've read a couple of his books, so which he also wrote, which I give him a lot of credit for it because, being Austrian and all, my imitations suck anyway. But his theme this week was like, all right, I got like he gives you like assignments. And he's like, your assignment this week is to contact some old friends, not just one, but some old friends you haven't talked to in maybe decades. And there's this something, there will be a lot of positive effects from that on your health, especially if you're the type who is plagued by loneliness, for instance. Now, Arnold knows what he's talking about probably because he's 76 now. His birthday's around the time mine is. Mine's July 2nd. I think he's like July 8th or something like that. Or maybe I'm confusing him with Ringo, who is, I think, the 8th. Anyway, it's around now. He's going to be 70. He's 76. But he's going strong. He goes to the gym every day. He's got 2 like hit shows going right now. So like he's doing all right. I can't see him being that lonely. But anyway, so he was just, talking about how important it is to maintain healthy relationships with your old friends. I agree with him. And this is where I fail as a person. I'm very selfish with my time. And because of it, I don't have like a shitload of friends. And that's my fault. But I also kind of subscribe to John Lennon's old theory. Before he died, or maybe it might have actually been included in, I think it was. He did like 3 nights just before he died, like even including maybe the night he died. He was doing an extensive radio interview. I'm not sure if it was for the BBC or for, I don't know. Obviously, he recorded it in New York City, but I remember tuning in every night anxiously for that one when I should have been doing homework and shit like that. But and somehow the subject came up. Well, like, John, you don't have a whole lot of friends. You're not like going around town with like your entourage like you did in this, in the mid 70s during your Lost weekend, and when he was hanging around with like Keith Moon and Ringo and all those guys getting fucked up every night, kicked out of like the Troubadour and stuff like that. Anyway, John Lennon wasn't good in alcohol. That didn't mix. Every other drug did, but Anyway, so he said, well, you know what? I look at it like this: no friends, no enemies. Which, it's a joke, but I kind of see his point. So I don't, while I agree with both, like I sort of like come down in the middle of this. Old friends, especially the ones you had in grammar school maybe or high school or whatever. By the time you hit my age, it'd be great seeing them again. I'm not about to call them, and interrupt their lives. They'd probably be like, why are you calling me after 40 years or 30 years or 20 years? Like, what, But I truly believe, like, while it's great to connect with old friends, maybe briefly, they call them old. That there's even like you had your time together. When you had things in common. You were maybe like you were going through the war together, so to speak. You were going through high school together, or you were playing football together, or you were doing whatever together. You were sharing the same experiences, and you gravitated toward one another, and you had, the similar outlooks anyway, and you busted each other's chops, and you just like to make each other laugh, but then you kind of grow up and you go your separate ways, and you get married, you have kids, and you get the maybe you get a job, you live in the burbs, all that sort of stuff. And I've taken a different path, so like I don't really understand that lifestyle, even though I did live it for, a while, anyway. But, there's been plenty of times I've been with old friends, quote, old friends, where, you know, they all talk about sort of the same thing, like their tractors and their woodworking shops um, and their, whatever they, like, and I get it. And I actually find it interesting, even though I don't participate in any of that stuff, but um, rarely will anyone, hey, how's the writing going? Or like, what books are you working on now? Or like, rarely, because they don't, and it's not because they're being jerks or anything. It's just because they just don't get it. They're probably like, why would he put himself through that? Writing sucks. Why is he doing this? He could be making so much more money doing something else. Um, and I get that, but I'm happy. So I guess that's the other thing too. I've always been alone. In fact, I was having this conversation with my mother the other day. My mother likes being independent and alone, and I guess I probably take after her. But when I was like I mentioned before in another blog or video rather that I grew up as a little kid on my own. There was no one to play with. We lived like our property adjoined a bunch of farm fields. There were no kids, but there was a lot of property, which is all covered in houses now. And I just made my own fun. We had a whole bunch of World War II equipment hanging around, uniforms and stuff. And I loved comic books, and I would make up my own stories and stuff like that. And that's how I got along. And my mother said, yeah, it was crazy. Actually, she said, you would just pretend all day. One day you'd be like a football player. The next day you'd be like a cowboy. The next day you'd be a soldier. And you just entertained yourself outside all day. And if it was raining, you went down to the basement and you built models and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. And she was saying that's why we moved to a suburb, and all the kids were female. She remembers like pounding her head against the wall. She's like, so therefore you were alone again. But anyway, there are a few old friends that I keep that I consider like my brothers almost. I have a couple of college guys that, even though I haven't seen physically in years and years and years and years and decades, really, we communicate at least a few times a week. And then there's my immediate college group of about 4 or 5 guys who I consider like the brothers I never had. And we fight just like my sons will fight sometimes, because we have strong personalities and we have disagreements. But we could like, not see each other physically for like 3 years, but the second we're in a room together, it's like no time has passed whatsoever, and no one talks about their work. No one talks about how little money they have or how much money they do have. It's just, you're just like on even keel again, and no one cares about that stuff. It's just like, you just laugh, bust each other's chops, you argue, whatever. I mean, I've actually had fights with these 1 or 2 of them or 3 of them, and we haven't spoken for like a year. And then suddenly it's like one person calls and it's like, hey, what's going on? And water under the bridge. Just like real brothers. So anyway, I've kind of rambled on this one. But anyway, thanks, Arnold. You got me to thinking. All right, some people are chiming in. Let's see what's going on. Wayne. Hey, Wayne. Excuse me. Hey, I enjoy your new videos. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for the editing, too. All right, so I'm burping up. I snuck out last night and I got these like jelly jam cookies. Oh my god! And I just had one. And it's coming back up on me. You might consider investing in a new hat in the future, Wayne. Let me tell you something, Wayne. You sound like my mother. This hat, if it could talk, it's just getting good. It's like 15 years old. I stole it from my son when he was a teenager. It's been through the Amazon jungle. It's been through Peru and Machu Picchu. It was with me when I had food poisoning off a peninsula in Lake Titicaca. It's like it's classic Wayne. It's the classic hat. And every now and then I break it out. All right, what else we got? Let's see. Mary Clark from Gold Patrol 727 wrote a message and then deleted it. I wonder what it said. It was probably like, "You're hot." Betcha. By the way, it's Mary's birthday today. Go to Gold Patrol 727. See what she's got to offer, especially if you live in the Lake Ontario area at the bottom. She's a hell of a trainer. Let's see. Wayne, I said, how old is it? Oh, okay. I told you, 15 years old. I think it's 15 years old. Probably. Somewhere around there. Which is old for a hat. Wayne, I've got t-shirts that are 15 years old. I don't go shopping. I don't clothes shop. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. So, like, I'm literally down to, like, maybe three or four button-down shirts from, like, 2 dozen. They start getting holes. And, so, anyway. All right, that's it for today, you guys. While there's a break in the rain, we haven't gone a day in a month without rain. I'm going to go out for a quick walk, and then I got to get some more work in and live the life. Mary said, how old is old? Oh, okay. See, I'm half blind. And even with the glasses on, it's tough to see the print. There is no old, Mary. Age is just a number. In fact, maybe people should go to your website and check out your new blog and your new video. And then they'll realize that age is just a number. It just represents, it's directly related to a calendar. If you're in great health and great spirits, age doesn't matter. All right. And happy birthday, Mary. All right, you guys, God willing, talk to you tomorrow. Ciao, ciao.